Let's meet Anita, a 30-year-old single mother, and her curious 8-year-old son, Joshua. Living in a small, close-knit village, their bond is tested when Anita begins to openly bathe in Joshua's presence. In the heart of a cool African village, where the morning sun painted the sky in vibrant oranges and pinks, lived Anita and her son Joshua. Their mud brick home stood proudly among others, its walls decorated with intricate patterns that told stories of their ancestors. The sound of children playing and women singing while doing their daily chores filled the air, creating a symphony of life that had remained unchanged for generations. As Anita prepared their morning meal, she watched her 8-year-old son Joshua through the doorway, already showing signs of the man he would become. His curiosity knew no bounds, and his questions often left her searching for answers that would bridge the gap between their ancient traditions and the changing world beyond their village. Little did she know that their relationship would soon be tested in ways she never imagined, forcing her to confront the delicate balance between preserving cultural heritage and adapting to new understandings of personal boundaries. The day began like any other, with Anita and Joshua following their usual morning routine. The communal bathing area near their home buzzed with activity as villagers prepared for another day. Anita, like many other mothers in the village, saw no issue with bathing in the presence of her young son. It was a practice passed down through generations, seen as a natural part of life and motherhood. Joshua helped his mother carry water from the river, his small feet leaving patterns in the dusty earth. He noticed how some of the younger mothers had begun to use separate bathing areas, but he didn't question it yet. His mind was more focused on the stories his mother would tell during these morning rituals, tales of their ancestors and the spirits that guided their people. These moments of intimacy and learning were precious to both mother and son, though neither realized how these customs would soon become the center of their greatest challenge. One particularly hot afternoon, as Joshua returned from playing with his friends, he began to notice subtle differences in how other families conducted their daily routines. His best friend, Kofi, mentioned that his mother no longer bathed with him present, marking a shift in their household's practices. This observation planted a seed of curiosity in Joshua's young mind. During their evening meal of fufu and groundnut soup, Joshua gathered the courage to ask his mother why some families were changing their ways. Anita, caught off guard by her son's perceptiveness, carefully stirred her soup while considering how to address this question. She explained that different families had different ways, just as different trees in the forest grew in their own unique patterns. But deep down, she felt the first stirrings of uncertainty about their own traditions. During lunch break at school, Joshua sat under a big mango tree with his friends. They shared their food and talked about games and family life. Kofi, Joshua's best friend, told everyone about the new changes in his home. "My mom says I'm getting bigger now, so we need more privacy," Kofi said proudly. Joshua listened carefully and felt confused. He wondered why some things were changing in his friends' homes but not in his. The teacher had been teaching them about growing up and respect for their bodies. These lessons made Joshua think hard about the morning baths with his mom. One sunny morning, Joshua's grandmother came to visit. She brought sweet mangoes and colorful beads from the big market. While Anita was busy cooking, grandmother noticed something was bothering Joshua. She sat with him under the shade of their favorite tree. "What troubles you, my little one?" she asked kindly. Joshua played with the dirt using a stick, drawing circles as he spoke. He told his grandmother about what his friends said at school and about the new things he was learning. Grandmother listened without saying a word. She knew times were changing, even in their small village. The next day, Joshua helped his mother in their small garden. They planted new seeds for corn and beans. As they worked, Joshua thought about how plants grow and change. "Mom," he said, "plants change as they grow, right?" Anita nodded, smiling at her son's thoughtful question. "Sometimes people need to change too," Joshua said quietly, thinking about what his grandmother had told him. Anita stopped digging and looked at her son. She saw wisdom in his young eyes that reminded her of her own father. She knew they would need to talk about the changes happening in their village, but she wasn't sure if she was ready. Joshua's teacher called a meeting for all parents. They sat in the classroom on small wooden chairs. The teacher talked about how children grow and learn new things. She explained that as kids get bigger, they start to think differently about their bodies and privacy. Anita listened carefully. She watched other mothers nodding their heads. Some of them shared stories about how they changed their old ways to help their children feel more comfortable. Anita held her hands tightly in her lap, thinking about Joshua and what was best for him. That evening, Anita and Joshua sat on their front step, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Anita remembered how small Joshua used to be, how she had carried him on her back while doing chores. Now he was growing tall and asking smart questions. "Joshua," she said softly, "I think it's time we make some new rules in our house." Joshua looked at his mother with curious eyes. "Like what?" he asked. Anita took a deep breath and began to explain how they would start doing things differently, especially during morning bath time. She told him it was because she respected him and wanted him to feel good about growing up. Joshua woke up early the next day, feeling excited about the new changes. His mother had set up a screen made of colorful cloth in their bedding area. It made a private space where each of them could wash alone. Joshua liked how the cloth had patterns of birds and trees on it. At breakfast, Anita and Joshua talked about their new morning plan. They would take turns using the bathing area. Joshua would go first, then his mother. They both felt a little strange about the new way, but they knew it was good to try new things. At school, Joshua told Kofi about the changes at home. Kofi gave his friend a big smile and said, "That's great. It was weird for me at first too, but now it feels normal." They played soccer during break time, and Joshua felt happy knowing his friend understood. After school, Kofi came to Joshua's house to play. He saw the new screen in the bathing area and told Joshua that his family had done something similar. The two boys spent the afternoon making up games and talking about how growing up meant learning new ways to do things. Some people in the village started talking about Anita's new ways. Some older women shook their heads and said she was forgetting their traditions. But Anita's mother, Joshua's grandmother, stood up for her daughter. She told everyone that good traditions help people grow, and sometimes traditions need to grow too. Joshua heard some of the talk, but he didn't feel bad about it. His grandmother had taught him that brave people sometimes have to do new things, even when others don't understand at first. He felt proud of his mother for being brave. Joshua's teacher gave the class a special project. Each student had to write about changes in their family. Joshua wrote about the new privacy screen and how his mom listened to his feelings. His teacher liked his story so much, she asked if he would share it with the class. Some kids in class had similar stories. Others were still doing things the old way. Nobody made fun of anyone else's family. The teacher explained that different families change at different times, and that's okay. Joshua felt good knowing he wasn't alone. The village leader called a big meeting. Everyone sat under the big baobab tree to talk about old and new ways of living. Some people were worried about losing their culture. Others thought some changes were good for the children. Anita stood up and spoke about her experience with Joshua. She talked about how they found a way to respect both tradition and privacy. Many parents nodded as she spoke. Even some of the older people who had disagreed before started to understand. We've come to the end of this video. Kindly like, subscribe and share, so that you can get notified when I drop my next video. Thank you.